Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I hope you're all good. So in this video, I wanted to talk about and show you a new pedal that I've bought. A few months ago, well actually it's probably last year, my friend Dan told me to check out the Hologram Electronics Microcosm. He said it's right up my street, I'd love it, and I checked it out and I thought that sounds incredible. When it's available, I'll check it out and see if I can get hold of one and try it for myself. Fast forward a few months and I started to see them online on social media, as you do, and I remembered, oh yeah, I forgot about that pedal, I need to go and check it out again. So I jumped online, found a bunch of videos that weren't there originally that have come out now because people had got them, and was like, I need to get this pedal, this is incredible. So I jumped onto their website, ordered one, and in May it finally arrived a couple of weeks ago. Just to say now, this isn't a sponsored video. This is Hologram Electronics haven't sent me this pedal. I bought this pedal off their website, but it's just going to be like every other video that I do. So I'll play through it, show you what it can do from how much I've learned from it yet, and then give you my opinions at the end of this video. Also, just to say, it's currently 25 degrees in Brighton and my attic conversion again is getting really hot. I don't want to have the windows open because it messes with everything, so if I start to get sweaty, that's why. So as you can see, I've got a pedal camera set up here. This is currently my home super ambient awesome pedal board that I rigged up because my big Schmidt array sort of pedal board of doom is currently at Brighton Electric because we were doing the Totemist stuff. We've just recorded another EP, which is exciting, but it's down at Electric. So I've got this little thing set up here. And as you can see, I've got the UAFX stuff because quite frankly, it sounds incredible. Then I've added the Beatronics Vespa because it's new and I really love it. And I'm trying to audition it with like ambient, the big colossal ambient stuff that I like to do. Of course, the Revival Drive Compact because it's one of my favorite pedals. And of course, in the middle, you can see the Hologram Electronics Microcosm looking awesome. In case you haven't heard of this pedal and you don't know what it does, the best way I can describe it is it's kind of like this, it's not really a delay, but it's the closest thing in layman's terms to what I'd describe as it sort of listens to what you play and then it loops it back in a sort of delay fashion with all sorts of cool granular, glitchy, arpeggiated effects. It's an effects pedal in the purest form because it really does do really weird, awesome things to your guitar tone. In terms of its controls, it's pretty straightforward. Top left is the activity, so that's how much in the repeats of what happens, how busy it is essentially, how much activity is going on. Then as we move along, you've got your shape. Essentially, the way it repeats it, you can change the sort of waveform, so it could be smooth or it could be quite sharp or have like a ramp effect, if that makes sense. So it's quite a tight transient and then it will sort of drop off or the other way around. Then you've got your filter, so how much high end essentially you're letting into the repeats. And then we move across, we've got mix, so that's how much we mix in the signal. Then bottom left, we've got our time, that's how we divide, your time of the loops, the speed of it, the subdivision of it, and you can switch between it with that little flashing button underneath. Then we've got repeats, then we've got space, which is actually a reverb built into this. It's a beautiful reverb, I would say, but one thing I like to do is add my own reverbs after the fact and mess with it as like I've done with the UAFX stuff. After the fact, I still like to add a little bit just to soften the intensity of some of the repeats. And then you've got loop level, which is for the looper. Then you can see the encoder on the right is how we move through all the different types of effects. We've got glitch effects, we've got micro loops, so it records a little loop of what you've played and messes with it. We've got a granular effect, and then we've also got multi-delay. So each one of those sort of main headers, like the micro loop and the glitch and stuff, inside those you've got a few extra effects. So there's a bunch of different stuff to choose from. Like I said, I've not had tons of time with it, but that's essentially what it does. I'm going to learn more with it as I go. It is a true stereo pedal. One thing I was slightly disappointed by is it only has 1 in and 2 outs. So it is stereo. You can use a TRS stereo cable, but one thing I love about the Strymon stuff and the UAFX stuff is you can have 1 in, 2 in, 1 out, 2 out, if you know what I mean. So you can be true stereo like that. This can do that. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just in terms of rigging it into my pedal board, it makes it more complicated because I can't just run it in a chain of other effects that could go in the loop of a stereo rig. You can also control this thing with MIDI, as you'd expect with a pedal of this caliber. It's a high quality effects pedal, so it has all the bells and whistles for all the rest of it that you'd expect. But in this video, we're just going to go over some of my favorite sounds, and I can just show you how I've built up some of these ambient tones that you've been hearing on my channel recently. So in this video, rig-wise, I've got my dual stereo Kraken rig. In terms of the signal chain, my guitar goes into the pedal board, straight into the Revival Drive, then to the Vespa, and then to the Microcosm. From there, it goes into the Astra, splits off to stereo to the front of both amps. So all that stuff's in the front. The Microcosm, the Astra, Revival and Vespa are all in the front of the amp. And then I put the Starlight and the Golden Reverberator in the loops. So I'm just going to build up this sound, as you can hear. Also, just a quick one, I've been messing around with load boxes trying to match which ones I feel. I'll do a video on this separately, but I've been trying to match the feel of the load boxes, because I found like the Ox and the Torpedo, or the Sir and the Torpedo, or the tube amp expander and the Ox all feel different, and I want to find a way, because I use the identical amps, 2 identical amps, I wanted to match them. So I found that the Sir reactive load and the tube amp expander are giving me a really close feel and response in terms of the sound for those amps, and then I'm running those straight into the computer and then loading an instance of the Soldano Neural DSP plugin for the IR section, and what you're hearing speaker-wise is the Soldano SLO plugin IRs on top of this. So anyway, this is the sound of the guitar straight in, no effects, no pedals. Okay, and then if we add on the Revival drive, that's just giving us more presence and tightening up the low end. So it's quite driven, but I plan to be playing it more like let that hair come through. So now let me show you what happens when we build up the ambience of everything. So start with the Starlight Echo Station. True stereo, it's lovely. Then the Golden Reverberator. And now the Astra. Now the Revival drive. So that's what we've been dealing with recently with the sort of big stereo ambient rig that I've got going on. So we've got that out of the way. That's what we're going to be adding the Microcosm to, but let's just hear the Microcosm in its sort of on its own. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm currently running it on a glitch patch. Now, let me turn it on. Here we go. So you can hear what's happening there. It's pretty basic at the minute. If I turn the space up, this is the reverb you get with it. So it's really, really vibey. Okay, but I don't really like using the reverb on with that much because it's quite a dark reverb. You can change that, but at the minute I want to use it with everything else. So now we're going to add the Revival drive to it. And now the reverb and delay. Now add the Astra. So that's a really, really quick example, just very subtly adding the microcosm into what's already there. Just adds another texture, some movement and stuff like that, and we can make it way more intense. So that's basically it. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the Vesper, because this thing is really intense, but what I like about it is if you tune it in right, you don't have it boost the signal too much. Adding all those other effects in there sounds epic. Sounds cool. Throw on the microcosm. So it's all kinds of weird, but I really like how much mood and vibe there is with these pedals so far. I'm loving the sound of this rig. So at this point, we're just going to mess around. I'll show you some of the different sounds, variations of each effect. So that's basically the board, and that's what we're dealing with. So take off the Astra, bring in the hologram, and let's move to a different preset. This is like another type of glitch. I really like the glitch stuff. It's really good. I think the way I've been using it, to be fair, is by adding it with other effects. Like on its own, I find it a little bit, I'm like waiting for something to happen. Whereas when I put other effects in there with it, I just forget, and it just adds all this mood and texture, which I really like. It's kind of weird, like I'm still getting used to it, but the thing that's obvious is that it sounds incredible and it does a lot of amazing things to the signal, and it just sounds really cool and authentically, you know, synthy, and like, you know, all that kind of weird era of music, I suppose, being influenced into this pedal, and it's kind of, we're getting a taste of that in this guitar world, so it's fun. It's a lot of fun. This is another sound that I just turned on to. This is, what's this? We're on Interrupt sort of preset patch 2. Check it out. So you see what I mean? Sometimes they can interrupt, obviously, in a way that's kind of a little bit jarring, and that's why you should really ride that mix control, because for me, that's a bit too in the way. So if you back it off, and if you want it to cut through, you just boost the filter, pop it back on. So it's, you know, it's about how you want to use it with all your other effects. For me, those ones feel nice where they're just giving you this weird texture, really sort of unnerving in a way. I like it. In another way, you could, you know, take you out of the mix completely and play around behind the scenes, you know, in a sense. You let the pedal be the forefront and you're behind it. So again, another way of using it to create lots of cool textures. Again, it's one of these pedals that you'll get lost in for hours and hours. So obviously this video is going to get trimmed right down because it's probably loads and loads of footage. But yeah, as you can probably tell, you sort of find a sound, you play with it for a bit, you work out how you'd use that. This is my sort of getting to know the pedal video that I'm sharing, because I'm still not really there yet with it. There's a lot to take on board and work out how you'd implement that into your rig, time match stuff, use it in a song, work out. Really, one of the most difficult things I'm finding with it is working out, with any other effect, you can kind of hear what it's giving you and how you'd use it in a song. Like you'd add a groove to it, or you'd almost be able to manipulate it so that you can use it in a song for a riff in a section, as you'd expect. So it's not just free form time, it's not just a texture that goes over the top of the music. And with this, I'm struggling with some of them to really get the grip of that element of the effect, if that makes sense, so that I could go, right, I know how I'd write a riff around this, rather than just being like a random sound that happens. Maybe that's not what it's aimed at, maybe it's supposed to be this way, but that's one of the things that I'm finding is a little difficult with it in that sense. So I've stumbled across one of the presets I think I used for a track recently called Walking Home from a Sci-Fi Movie Night, and it was something like this. It wasn't this sound, but it was another one similar, that it gave you this brooding sort of synth bass thing going on. This one's less invasive with sort of ring mod effects that there was in the other sound, but you can do a similar thing with this one. So... So it's amazing in the sense that it gives you this, like, it's a song, you know. That's the kind of what I felt to myself, and that's why I put that track out, in a sense that I was like, yeah, it's kind of accompanying me with what I'm doing. The only thing I did struggle with is that you do just have to hit one note and then just let it do its thing. Like, now if I tried to jam with that rhythmically, it doesn't really like it. It wants, in a sense, that the effect's designed around you playing one thing, I think. Or at least that's what I'm getting from it, is that that's what you're supposed to do. And I've kind of shied away from effects where you just kind of do one thing and it plays like a thing for you, just because I like to jam and get involved in that kind of rhythmic side of things. And so when I'm trying to do that and it's like getting really clustered and weird and full of intensity, it's a little bit obstructive. It gets in your way in that sense. I like the effect, but I think at the same time, it'd be nice if it'd just carry on while I get to play around with it. Maybe it does. I haven't worked that out yet. Let's try a different one. Let's try this one. So you could probably tell that I'm sweating really badly now because it's really warm. So I'm going to end this video here. But I think I've tried to demonstrate a few of just a small handful of the effects I like, and mixing it in with this kind of ambient stereo rig because it really works with the other pedals, and it's allowing me to get creative and come up with nice ambient guitar bits that I get to post online, as I've been talking about recently. So I'll carry on doing stuff with it. I'd prefer to just, you know, use it and put it into some music and put that out. But if I find out other cool stuff that I think that's definitely worth showing, I will do that. But I'm still working it out. So yeah, basically that's this video, looking at a very brief look at the Hologram Electronics Microcosm. My only real gripe with this pedal is that it has a little bit of that play one thing, let it play for you kind of thing. And I'm not a huge fan of that in pedals. Like, I like to get involved with the effect and manipulate it with the guitar rather than just play and let it do a bunch of stuff. So that would be my only real main gripe with some of the effects in there. The only other slight thing that is a bit difficult to work out right now for me is how I use these within a riff or a song section where I can rely on this effect doing the same thing every time in that way. If this pedal isn't designed around that, then I guess that's not going to happen, and it's more of an effect, a textural effect, and you know, obviously it's capable of a lot, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still needing to work that out. I need to incorporate it into my main pedal board, see if I can use it there. I think this thing would team up really well with the Night Sky from Strymon, and I think that if you've seen that video I did on the Night Sky, I get a similar feeling about the Microcosm as I do the Night Sky. It's an incredible effect. It does all sorts of amazing stuff, but it feels like it's a producer tool more than it's a performing tool. In the sense that, you know, performing articulated, very specific parts without a lot of pre-planning and programming. You know, it's not just to throw the effect on, enjoy the way it sounds, use it in the way you want to, and then just move on kind of thing. But anyway, I'm not saying it's bad at all. I'm incredibly happy that I've got it. I'm incredibly happy that I managed to get one in the midst of everyone buying one, and they're all sold out everywhere. So I'm happy about having one in my possession, and it's going to get used all over the place. That's another thing I was going to say, is that you're bound to hear the hologram electronics microcosm movement in music, where you're just going to be able to go, oh, that's definitely the microcosm there. Oh yeah, I can hear it on that record. Definitely the microcosm. It's just going to start popping up on records all over the place because it's quite a distinctive sounding pedal, which is a very good thing. And to be honest, it's been a long time since I got super excited about a pedal, since really the Strymon Timeline and the Big Sky came out. I was so hyped on those when they came out, and I had this exact same excitement about this. And it's been a long time. So congrats to Hologram Electronics for really nailing the vibe with a really cool pedal that everyone's super excited about and has bought. So congrats to you guys for that, and also making a phenomenally great sounding pedal. I just need to learn how to use it, basically. So hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If anyone's got any tips on how to make this thing work even better for me, then please put them in the comment section below. But anyway, I'll put a link to that pedal in the description box. Like, subscribe and share. I've been Rabea, and I will see you all very soon.